So, first of all, thank you for everybody for being here. My name is Vanden, owner of Moondragon Fitness, and I do personal training. I am certified through NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine, and this is our second session entitled Body of our Mind, Body, Spirit workshop. This program is all put together between me, Moondragon Fitness, and Making a Difference of Lebanon, PA, to just encourage people to be more active and engage in healthy activity and make it approachable. And for that reason, the entirety of this whole session, all three parts, is completely free. So I just want to say thank you to you for joining in and taking advantage of this. And everybody who registered for this class should have gotten an email with notes for these sessions. So we're going to start with going over the notes for this one. So the very first thing is we're just going to go over the liability disclaimer, okay? And the main axiom here is know thyself. So I'm just going to read the disclaimer, and I want everybody to understand this is essentially just to make you fully aware that your participation in this will involve physical activity, and for that reason, by participating in any of the physical activity in this session, you acknowledge your own self-awareness of physical capabilities. The responsibility is completely upon you to know of any impairments, limitations, or medical conditions that is informed to you by your physician or medical provider. Moondragon Fitness LLC is not responsible for any injury or discomfort which may result from your participation in this event. You acknowledge a risk of injury and do not hold Moondragon Fitness LLC liable for any unforeseen ailments resulting from participation or even from your own negligence. Okay, and essentially this just means that I want you to listen to your own body. I want you to do what's comfortable. Don't try to push yourself more than what you may have already be physically active in or what you feel comfortable doing. That being said, you're also completely welcome to just observe these. You don't have to participate. In addition, nobody's required to share their screen, so if you feel more comfortable during that portion to hide your screen, that's completely acceptable. Everybody has different parameters of what they are comfortable doing physically. So the next part of our notes that we want to go over is why is exercise good for everybody? So exercise improves strength and bone density. In fact, bone density, as we get older, every human being loses bone density. As we age, it is one of the most crucial things that leaves us that does not have to. Not that long ago, I seen this guy who's, I think, 90 years old, deadlifting over 400 pounds. And the reason that he's still able to do that is because he maintained his physical activity. He never stopped. And it's just sort of part of our society and part of our fast-paced life that a lot of people kind of put exercise and physical activity way down here. And then as we get older, we start to have those things. Everybody knows of family members that maybe aren't even that old that have to get knee replacement or hip replacements, or they fell in the most unusual type of thing, something that's like an everyday activity, but something gave way and gave out, and bone density is a big part of that. But exercise, particularly resistance training, but any kind of exercise, actually keeps the bone density strong. So this is one of the crucial things. It's why it's on the top of the list here. There's nothing else that maintains bone density. It doesn't matter how much calcium or how great your diet is, your bones slowly deteriorate and they get weaker as we get older. So the next one is to have more energy to do things you want to do with less fatigue. The more we work out, the more we are going to build one of the most important muscles in our body, which is our heart. That power in our heart is going to allow us to feel less fatigued, give us more energy because we're actually processing blood flow and oxygen at a more efficient and in a greater volume than we would if we were not exercising. Improve balance and lower risk of falling or tripping. This is another one that a lot of times happens with age. And again, I say age very subjectively, because there's people in their 40s who might just trip from some kind of weird, awkward, just inability to maintain balance. But of course, as we get older, 60s, 70s, this type of thing is very prevalent. During my studies as becoming a personal trainer, one of the things that was often talked about is how the majority of ailments, 75 to 80% of them, are completely preventable if people lived more active lives. So this is one of those. During exercise, you're going to be doing movements and activities that develop coordination. Of course, at first, if you're new to exercise and you start doing them, it's going to feel like, what are you doing to me? Putting me in all these positions. But like anything, it takes time, patience, and development. The body adapts. And the body adapts to be able to understand that neuromuscular connection and make those coordinations more second nature, which, as a functional capacity, increases our everyday life, because our ability to be flexible and balanced in different positions. Of course, functionality is the most important thing, right? If it's applicable to everyday life, it's better than just exercise. So the next one is manage and prevent diseases. And this is exactly what I was talking about. These are some of the things that are completely preventable diseases: arthritis, heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, osteoporosis, 8 different types of cancer. And all of these things can be preventable if people were active. These are things that people take on due to having heart issues, blood flow, circulatory issues, that exercise all helps to increase and maintain the efficiency of. Sleeping better. Okay, we talked about in the last session how stress and anxiety and sleep are closely related. Better sleep is going to allow you to regenerate and heal better and improve mood. And exercise helps with this because it's the body's kind of expending its energy, which then at the end of the day, it's kind of like, okay, now I'm ready to sleep. I don't have this excess energy kind of flowing through me. Reduce levels of stress and anxiety. We kind of touched on that already. Exercise, by its nature, actually releases what's called the happy endorphins chemicals into our body. So physiologically, exercise actually changes our mood. Even though we might enter into exercise regretfully, when we're done, everybody knows that feeling of like, whew, like that was great, that was awesome, I'm so glad I did that. And part of that feeling is actually those chemical endorphins just sort of giving you that nice kind of high. Like some people who like to run, they get that runner's high type of thing. This is literally the body reinforcing that activity and saying, this felt good, like this was good. Sort of like the dessert that it's feeding us to give us the motivation, like keep doing that, like that we like this. So reducing stress and anxiety is achieved through that kind of happy endorphin release into the body. Weight management. Of course, there's a lot of times why people do finally come to exercise and want to actually embrace it as something they want to do, because maybe they reached a point where they want to make changes and be more proactive with weight management. And exercise is pretty much on the front line of this. Remember, weight management is really simple, even though it's complex, but it's simple in this aspect. Calories in versus calories out. Calories out is achieved through the more movement your body is doing. So if we're sedentary, we're using less calories. But the more active we are, hence exercise, the more exercise we do, the more calories we're expending. And in that equation, calories in versus calories out, that's where your weight management is going to happen. And this is a fine line, and a lot of my clients that I work with, this is one of the things I definitely always bring up in the beginning, is when you start working out and exercising, your body's going to want that homeostasis that is wanting to balance out those calories. So a lot of times we're going to feel like we want to eat more because we're hungrier because we did more. But good weight management starts with just keeping your calories where they were and increasing how much you move the body. And if you keep the calories where they were, you'll have that slight calorie deficit that creates weight management. So you do want to be careful when it comes to exercise that as you exercise more, you're not also eating more, because then you'll get healthier from the exercise. You'll get the bone density, you'll get the strength, you'll get the cardiovascular. These benefits will come, but you may not see the weight management. And this is a huge issue in the physical fitness industry that's often kind of overlooked, is that people work out more and then they're kind of like also eating more. So they're sort of like not actually getting the weight management benefit. That doesn't mean that it's not still healthy, but that's an important component to keep in mind. So that the value of exercise with weight management also means being mindful of the type of calories that are part of your normal diet. Okay, controlling blood pressure. So anybody with high blood pressure that may have gone to see a physician, one of the first things that they always tell people is, even just going for walks. But exercise is a huge component of that. Again, it's about working that muscle, the heart. The more blood flow you have, the more vascular kind of strengthening and development that you do, the better that blood's going to move, and you're going to have less of that high blood pressure issue. So the last one is more of a psychological component, and that is just to empower how you feel and how you feel more in control. Exercising has this magical component of activating our willpower. So anybody who has exercised and maybe taken it to different levels knows that there's that point where you come where it's like, I don't want to be doing this. This is getting harder. And the more you see it through and push through it, that's exercising our willpower. And that can carry over to other things in life. There's a very magical component to working out that is, the analogy can be drawn to apply to our everyday life, just knowing that we've accomplished that. We've pushed ourselves to reach a goal. So this is more of a psychological component of empowering you to feel more capable of exercising your willpower. So that kind of covers everything about why exercise is good. The next thing that we have is, why do people not exercise? And this is really important because we want to be able to address what are the obstacles. Because if you don't really address them, then you can't solve them. The same reason why when we worked through the first session in mind about stress and anxiety, one of the first things we did is identify it. Like, let's talk about what is it? What are the symptoms? What's it looks like? What causes it? Because then you can start trying to address those things individually. So we're going to look at exercise and why people don't do it. First one, it's just easy to put off, okay? And this links with kind of the hierarchy of values, which we'll get to. But exercise is really easy to put off because we live very busy lives. There's so many other responsibilities and things that we have to be doing. And we feel sometimes maybe a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of capacity of things that we feel is under our responsibility. And this kind of ties in with our first session. You'll notice a theme here, and that's why all three of these sessions do work well together, is they sort of thread together and lean on each other for understanding. But working out is easy to put off, mostly because we're busy and because it's not in our hierarchy of values. Second one is lack of experience. There are some people who just never had the importance of exercise imparted to them socially, through their family, and culturally. It's just not really that important in their sphere of how they were raised. Maybe they just never liked sports in school, and it was just never on their radar. They just never understood the value in it. And of course, those people, when they get older and they start suffering from some of the issues with bone density and cardiovascular and all those other things that are completely preventable, then they might start engaging in it. Okay, so I've actually experienced this with some clients where, it was just sort of never in their wheelhouse. They were just never active, but now, because they're dealing with certain things physically, they decided to start being more proactive with it to reverse those effects. And this is just the nature of it. Like, you can't, there's no preventable thing with that. That's just the course of their exposure in their world, and at some point they become aware of the importance of it, unfortunately usually through necessity. So the next one is, it's not important and it's low in our hierarchy of values. So this tags into that first one of it's easier to put off. So in our value hierarchy, everybody has one, whether consciously or unconsciously. That hierarchy is things that are important to you. And if physical activity, health is down here, it's going to be put off. It's going to be one of the reasons why we don't exercise, because it is down here. Everything else that's up here takes priority. And that could be anything. It could literally be just hanging out with friends. That's something that's really important to you, that you like to do a lot. And if that's high on your value, what happens is, if you think you want to start working out and you kind of set a workout schedule, but then your friend calls you and says, hey, let's go hang out, and you go hang out, that took priority in your hierarchy of values, and then you didn't work out. So I'm not here to tell you quit everything else you're doing in your life and work out all the time. That's there's always a balance. Okay, yin and yang. It's always about creating balance in your life. It's never go to an extreme one way or the other. But be mindful that if your goal is to become healthier, you are going to have to put it a little bit higher in your hierarchy value, or else you will put it off. So you need to raise it to whatever level you think it should be. For some people, what I like to say, if they're like, I want to reach this goal. This is important to me. I need to start working out. I want to work out at least 2 to 3 times a week, no matter what. What I do is I say to them, okay, treat it like you would your job. Would you call your boss and say, I'm kind of not feeling it today. I think maybe I'll stay home today. Sorry. Okay. Or, hey, there's this awesome movie coming out tonight. Me and some friends are going to check it out. Sorry, boss, but that's kind of what's happening. Okay? Or it could be anything. Put it in that category. Ask yourself, would I call my boss, say, yeah, I'm just feeling tired today. I'm sorry, I can't come in. So, and again, everybody's different, but if you really want to put exercise as a big part of your life, treat it like that. Now, I don't expect you to call your boss and say, hey, I got to work out today. Sorry, I can't come in. But hopefully everybody understands where I'm coming at. That's about hierarchy, right? For most of us, our job is the top of the list. Our job, our means of providing food for our family and making money, is the top of our list, which it should be, right? That's part of the survival. But we don't compromise that, right? It's high on our value. We don't compromise that. For a lot of people, second comes family. That means hanging out with family, doing something with the family, whatever it may be, is the next thing. Like, you wouldn't tell your family, hey, I'm sorry, but I think I'm going to go get a couple beers tonight, and you guys are good, right? Or, sorry, family, tonight I'm watching the soaps or something like that. See, you guys figure out what you're doing. That's a hierarchy of value. So think of that relationship of how do you treat things that are of importance to you, and you do them regardless. So that's kind of, you have to choose. Everybody's going to be different. You have to choose where you want to put exercise. But that's usually a good little thing. And there's also something called the 5-second rule. Her name escapes me, but there was a woman who developed this kind of concept of motivation that basically, if you have the time and the time has come for you to do a thing and you can do it, but for whatever reason you don't feel like doing it, or you feel like you're starting to make excuses, you count to 5 and you just do it. It's 1, 2, 3, and you just start doing it. So if it's time to work out, but you're not really feeling like you want to do it, do that 5-second count. And again, it's just about getting that willpower to just go do it, the discipline to go do it, and putting it in that hierarchy of values. So, the next one is, it is socially acceptable to be inactive and unhealthy. So again, we're in the category of why do people not exercise? And this is a huge one, because in our culture, it is socially acceptable to be inactive and unhealthy. Over 80% of Americans are unhealthy. And you don't have to go far, go to just out into public and look around, and you will see that about 80% of them, in some fashion or another, just actually look unhealthy. And if they don't look unhealthy, they're probably not active in any way. So this creates a culture where it makes us feel like it's okay. So this is sort of a drip effect over time, through our 20s, our 30s, our 40s. We're kind of like, everybody else is kind of cool not doing it. I'm okay not doing it. It's cool because no one else is really doing it. My friends don't do it. I'm okay. I don't need that. And then again, it sort of reaches that point where eventually we start maybe encountering some of the diseases and issues in our 60s or 70s that were completely preventable. And, we also not just feel this physically, we feel it economically, because the medical bills just go through the roof. And another big thing that was in my studies with studying for my certification was just how much money was spent annually on our medical system that's completely preventable. Again, totally preventable if people were actually active. The medical bills are just unbelievable. I do not remember the number. It's just astronomical, the amount of money that our economy has to carry because we have an unhealthy cultural norm. It is normal. So beating that one a little bit, because it's important for us to be aware of that sometimes the reason we don't work out is because we just look around and we're like, oh, the norm is to not work out. The norm is it's okay if you're, not healthy. And that's important to be aware of in our social context of sometimes why we might make an excuse of why we're not working out. And our last one is, exercise requires a special discipline of willpower. So exercise, like we talked about before, does require that motivation, that discipline to get the gumption up to just go do it. And it's one of the reasons why we don't do it. And it's something that's just cultivated with time and creating habit, which will be, again, in our next session, we'll be going over habit and how to develop good habits. And part of that habit is slowly integrating the ability to have the willpower to do the thing. So that kind of covers all the reasons why exercises are good and all the reasons why people don't exercise. And I hope that that made sense to everybody. If anybody has any questions, we will have a Q&A at the end of this, and you can feel free to ask any questions or share any observations during that time. But now we are going to get into the program. So everybody has their layout of the program. So we are going to just go over this, the workout template. So first, of course, we're going to do some kind of warm up. And this workout can also be done all as stretches, and I will show everybody how that can be done. And we want to always move in a gentle progression of intensity. So we don't want to start just, running 1,000 miles an hour. We want to start, first few rounds are going to be really relatively slow because they are part of our warm up. And we can alter these durations. In fact, today we're just going to do one cycle of each of these, but I will explain how they could be done for longer. So a minimum of 15 minutes, but you could do a maximum of 45 minutes with this. And then, of course, having a cool down. So back to the template. So we have a group of exercises that are broken into legs, core, and upper body. Each of these are done for 30 seconds, and then there's a 30-second rest period. And today what we're going to be doing is we're going to just progress right into group 2 for time's sake, and then we're also then just going to progress into group 3 and then group 4. But if you look at the bottom where it says you can perform each group for 2 to 3 rounds before proceeding to the next group, what that means is if you're in group 1 and you did legs for 30 seconds, a core exercise for 30 seconds, and upper body for 30 seconds, and then you rested for 30 seconds, what you could do after that 30-second rest is go right back to the top of group 1 and do that whole sequence again. You could take your 30 seconds rest and even go back and do it a third time through before proceeding to group 2. Then you would consecutively do the same thing for each grouping. So you can modify these according to what kind of time that you have. So you could go to group 2, core, legs, upper body, rest, and then go to back to the top of group 2 and do core, legs, upper body, rest, and do it a third time. Or you could do each group 2 times. It's really up to what kind of intensity you want to take it. And I want to mention that I have these broken up into staggered grouping. So group 1 is legs, core, upper body, rest. And then when we go to group 2, you can see that sequence is changed, right? It's core, legs, upper body, rest. And then group 3 is changed again. This is malleable. In fact, sometimes I do all 3 core exercises. So when we do our fitness in the park, I have our cards that we oftentimes pick from, and it makes it very random. So always keep in mind, this is sort of a general template. This is open to creativity, like you can play around with it. But you always want to make sure that you do have those 3 components relatively balanced throughout the whole thing. Like you could do a whole group of just core, the next group all legs, and the next group all upper body. If you really want to do a punishing workout, that's available to do that. But I just want to mention that there's a lot of room for options in there. Okay, so we're going to go through these, and I'm going to explain the different exercises we're doing. Now, the exercises I'm doing are going to be really basic, but you can always look up different exercises. I laid this out to have legs, core, upper body, so you could actually just go look up what are some core exercises and pick different ones that you like and make a list. And then you just plug them in here where you want them. I wanted to do it this way because I didn't want to try to teach everybody 12 different exercises. It's more important that you understand the template and then you can choose what exercises you want to do. Now for today, of course, I am going to be going through 12 different exercises, but keep in mind that you can always change those to your own different choosing. Everybody has different preferences for exercises. So let's get ready. And I use a timer to break these down. It's called a boxing timer, but these apps are all over the place. So you can probably find an app somewhere that does some sort of round counting, and you can keep track of the seconds. So to start with, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna do some warm-ups, just some basic warm-up stuff here. So we're gonna start by just reaching up and letting our arms come down. Just big breath, inhale and exhale. Want to really get that big inhale so that we open up them lungs, get some oxygen in. We'll do a couple more of these. And one more. Okay. And then let's just do some gentle arm circles. So I want to bring everybody's, I just want to mention that these are called dynamic stretches. And these are much better to do. Reverse your arms, go the other way. These are much better to do for warm-ups. So a dynamic stretch is a moving stretch. So just for the sake of example, if I were to do this, this is a static stretch because I'm just holding it. These are actually not really that good for warming up. So keep in mind, if you're doing a stretch like this or anything that you're just holding, there's actually evidence that this type of stretching can actually be detrimental to the workout. So you want to always have dynamic stretching. So we're going to do just a gentle leg swing. So again, this is dynamic because it's moving. So your warm-up exercises, and just go back and forth between each leg. Your warm-up exercises should be dynamic stretches. Just go back and forth between each leg, just kind of swing it out. Our goal here is just to get the blood flow going through the body. Okay, we're just going to take our hands and kind of rub circles up the body, down each arm. This is the one that I do a lot of times for my classes. It's just a good way to get the skin woken up, work down the body, down the legs. Just gets all the nerve endings happening, gets the blood circulation going. And we can do a little bit in the lower back here. Okay. And just shake it out. Okay, a couple little hops at the end. They're good hops if you're kind of talking like this. Right? Just kind of shaking the body, getting the blood moving. All right. So the first exercise we're going to do is going to be calf raises. So we're just going to be doing this. So if we look at our template, this is our leg exercise. Okay, so right now I'm just showing you what they are. The second one is going to be crunches. So they're going to be down here, and we're just going to contract and crunch. And the third exercise is going to be just push-ups. So push-ups can be a classic push-up if you're able to do these, or they can be done from the knees, or you could even just do half push-ups from the knees. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and start with these sequence. So get ready. We're going to start with calf raises. So just up and down. Remember, during the course of our workout, we want to keep our breathing nice and relaxed. Try to avoid hyperventilating, which would be like a this type of thing. Okay, so we're doing this for 30 seconds. We're coming up here towards the end. And now we're going to switch to crunches. So this is our core exercise. And we are also doing this for 30 seconds. Okay, and up. Now we're going into push-ups. So just spin around. Again, you can do a full classic push-up, or you can do it from the knees. And we're doing this for a total of 30 seconds. And relax. So now we're in our rest cycle, our 30 seconds of rest. So remember, if we wanted to make a longer workout, we could actually go through that whole set one more time. But today, we're just gonna move on to group 2. So group 2 starts with a core exercise. So we're gonna do reverse crunches, which are gonna be here. And we're gonna bring our knees up. We're gently touching our feet and bringing our knees up. So right now I'm just showing you what they are. Our second one is squat. So we can do a full classic squat, or we could do a modified half squat. Our third one is shoulder press from laying down. So we're going down and we're just pressing overhead from this position. Okay? So we will start with reverse crunches. So we'll get down. We'll do these together now. And we'll do these for 30 seconds. And go. Whenever we're doing our core exercises, we want to make sure that we're feeling that contraction through the midsection, squeezing those abs, activating that core. Okay, and up. So now we're going into our squats. So again, these can be full squats or they could be half squats. So this is our leg exercise. And then we would do this for 30 seconds. Okay, and then our last one is our upper body. So we're gonna go back down. We're gonna do those shoulder presses from a laying position. You wanna squeeze those shoulder blades together at the bottom and press up. Couple more. And rest. So now we're back into our 30-second rest period. So today, what we're going to do is go into group 3 now. So in group 3, we're starting with an upper body exercise, moving into a core, and then a legs. Hopefully everybody's starting to see how this works. So our first one, and again right now I'm just going to explain to everybody the exercise. Seal jacks, the full version, is like you're doing a jumping jack, but you're bringing the hands together. Now if you want to modify it, you can get rid of the impact and just step and stretch. Okay? So this is working the upper body with that stretch. Yes, there is also some legs in it. Sometimes you will find exercises that are more full body that you can input anywhere. Our second one is snow demons. My clients love these. So what we're doing here is we're bringing our hands, trying to touch our thumbs behind our back. So up, move up a little bit, and touch your thumbs behind your back. Okay, and then our third exercise will be marching twist. So this one, we're just touching elbows to knees. A modification for this could just be doing this, the upper body, or the lower body. Remember, always do what you're comfortable with. Okay, so we're gonna go into this grouping. We're gonna start with seal jacks. So everybody all together. You could do this version where you're just stepping, or you can do the full version. Always listen to your body. If you feel like you want to go back to doing a different version, that's okay. Okay, next we're doing our snow demons. So we're going to go back down. We're going to reach up and try to touch the thumbs behind. Get a nice good stretch. All the way up and back. Okay, next one. Now we're going into marching twist. So this is in the position of a leg workout. So if you want to modify this, you take your hands out of it and just work on balance. Okay? Always do what you're comfortable with. You can do a full twist or just balance. Okay. And rest. So hopefully it's starting to make sense how this works together. Each exercise is done for 30 seconds, and then we have 30-second rest at the end, and we go back into it. So our last grouping that we're going to do is starting with legs. So now we're in that group 4 column. So for the leg one, today we're going to do knee lifts, which is basically just trying to bring your knee as high as you can. Now the intensity on this could be increased by simply going faster, or you could lower the intensity by just bringing the knee as high as you're comfortable. Remember, as long as the body is moving within the parameter that you're comfortable with, you are doing more than you would be doing if you were sitting down, which is what we're after. So for upper body, we're just going to do this. We're going to squeeze our shoulder blades back behind us and come to the front. So this is a really good shoulder mobility exercise and an upper back strengthener if we're squeezing at the top. And then our last one for core is going to be hip thrust. So what we're going to do here is come down, press the hips up to the ceiling. So, everybody ready? We're going to go through this last grouping together, starting with knee lifts. So bring those knees up You bring them as high as you can. And if it's only partially, that's okay. Again, you're moving more than you would be if you were sitting down. And that's better than not moving at all. You could also increase the intensity by going faster, depending on what level of conditioning you're at. Okay, we're going into our upper body. So for this one, we're just squeezing behind, opening up and closing. Really good to open them shoulders up and squeeze that upper back. It's like an isometric strengthener. Okay, last one is our core exercise. Back down and into hip thrust. Press up as high as you can go. Keep everything nice and tight. Almost done. And rest. Okay. So, there you have it. What we did is we went through each group in the sequence of whether it was legs, core, upper body, or core, legs, upper body, and plugged in an exercise that's befitting to that body part, and then just moved through 30 seconds on each exercise, and then after we do 3, we do 30 seconds at the end. And of course that little tagline that I'm putting everywhere in all the notes, mind moves, body moves. That's really important because our intent, where we go with our thoughts, is where our body will go. So through every part of this workshop, that's kind of the common theme. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take everybody off of mute, and if anybody has any questions, I want you to feel free to throw them out there. If there's anything I can clear up that may have not come across in virtual communication, feel free to ask me. The last thing I want to mention is that I do virtual cardio classes twice a week, and they're completely free. So if you're looking to have the motivation to get involved in something, to have someone run you through it, my classes are Tuesday and Saturday at 9:30. They will be virtual probably only for another 3 weeks, 4 at the most maybe, before we go back to fitness in the park. And then we do them at Stover's Dam, and it's really great to just get outside. I welcome everybody to, if you want to start creating a habit in a group setting, I run those classes, and they are free too. It's just one of the things that I do to offer to the community. And just one note about next week, it will be all about habits and how to create healthy habits and apply everything we've learned into an actual structure to keep you doing it, so that it's not just this one-time thing where you're watching and you forget all about it. Actually, I can't take everybody off of mute. So if you have a question, you will have to unmute yourself, and we'll go ahead and field some questions here.
So when you're doing squats, is there a particular way of doing it? Like you have to keep your back straight, or do you? Is it like you're going to sit down and then come up, or?
Yeah.
I don't do squats all the way, so.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we were actually talking about this a little bit in I had a class that I ran before this. So a squat, by definition, is done where you do keep your back and your chest pretty much straight forward. a good solution to this is to think about touching your elbows to your knees. So if I do that, it instantaneously makes me keep that form. Like I can't mess that form up if I keep that intent. If my intent is to touch my elbows to my knees, I can't really mess up my form at all. So if you're looking to do a full squat, that's what you do. If you do partial squats, it is still a good idea to think about this as your target, right? See how, if I turn sideways, my elbows are still, if I had a post here, they would be in line. So even if I'm doing partial squats, this will help me keep my form. Now, there is something called a hip hinge, which is this, which is a good lower back exercise. So when people do squats and they might do this, they might sort of do a hip hinge squat. It's not bad. Like I harp on people in my class, I'm like, we're doing squats, keep your head and chest straight, keep your head and chest straight. It's not really injury concern, it won't injure you. It's just a matter of, that's not what we're doing, right? If you want to do squats, you do squats. If you want to do hip hinges, you can have your hands wherever you want. A lot of times people put them on their waist. Then you do hip hinges. They're just two different exercises. If you did one that was combined, it was sort of a squat hip hinge, the only problem with that is you might never actually train yourself to do a proper squat because you don't know what it is. Does that make sense? So if your intent is to do a squat, you want to do a squat to work your legs, do a squat with your head and chest up. Aim your elbows to your knees. If you want to work lower back, you do a hip hinge. Okay? So, and this template, like I said, I really didn't want to get into the minutia of teaching everybody specific exercises because it's just beyond the scope of time. I don't mind doing it with Q&A, but I wanted to give people the template so that you can on your own just look and say, okay, what's a cool leg exercise? Let me look it up. And you might see something on YouTube or something like that. And again, anybody here, feel free to message me and be like, hey, I want some cool core exercises, and I got some for you. My people who attend my, we could do zombie crunches, swimming dragons. Like I got them for days. But I wanted to give people a template that they can just kind of be like, okay, what's a cool, and then just plug in what you like to do. That way it makes it, again, more approachable. That's the idea here. Is to give you a program that gets you moving. I don't want everybody trying to like, because if I try to teach you exercises, you might be like, oh, I forgot that exercise, now I can't do it. Well, I want to make it as approachable as possible. Good question.
Thank you.
Brandon, would you mind naming the exercises that we did for group 1, 2, and 3?
Sure. If anybody wants to know what we did today, for group 1, and you can just literally write these in there. For legs,
Yeah.
we did calf raises.
Okay.
For core, we did crunches. And for upper body, we did push-ups. So first group was calf raises, crunches, and push-ups. On group 2, we did reverse crunches for our core. We did squats for our legs. And we did lying down shoulder presses for our upper body. So again, group 2 was reverse crunch, squats, and lying down shoulder presses, also called prone presses. For group 3,
The legs were squats.
yep, legs were squats. Yeah, let me know if I'm going too fast for anybody. This is actually a really good question too, because some people might just want this info and not have to go look things up. Group 3,
Lying down shoulder, what was it? Lying down shoulder.
presses. So we just laid down and we used gravity as our resistance for keeping our arms up above the ground. And then group 3, our upper body was seal jacks. Our core was snow demons. And our legs was marching twists. So again, group 3 was seal jacks, snow demons, and marching twists. And then group 4, for our legs, we did knee lifts. Our upper body, we did what's called external rotators, where we're basically externally rotating our shoulders out and squeezing in the back. That was our upper body. And then our core, we did hip thrusts. So the last group was knee lifts for legs, external rotators for upper body, and hip thrusts for core.
Thrusts are also bridges, right? Sometimes.
Yep, some people call them bridges, yes. So there are usually 3 to 4 different names to every single exercise, depending on who. Depending on who does it, yeah. Tanya calls these peekaboos, right?
Aw, like that.
So it's really whatever helps you remember it. I've even named and created some exercises myself. So yeah, that's a good question. But remember, now that you have that, you could also switch those around.
Thank you.
So you could switch the order, like you could take, if you do calf raises in group 1 one day, on another day you could put calf raises in another leg section. Does that make sense? So the creative element to this is never ending. Like what I do with our fitness in the park, when we work out at the park, I literally have what's called the cards of doom, which is a stack of cards with all my exercises in it. And I go around and I make people pick them out. And then that's the order we do. So I like doing that because sometimes you'll get 2 leg exercises in a row. And it just makes you work out a little more spontaneous, which is also functional. It's more functional. Because if you get in too much of a pattern, if you work out the exact same way all the time, same sequence, it's going to get boring. Your body's going to get used to it. So be creative with that list. You might even decide to make your own stack of cards and then make one for legs, make one for core, and make one for upper body, and pull those cards out for your workout and lay them down. That way it keeps changing for you. So that's a good way to be creative with it. Depending on how you're feeling, like I said, you could go through group 1 2 or 3 times before going to group 2 and do that 2 or 3 times. It's really endless how you can kind of play around with it. Any other questions? I'm just checking to see. No question is a bad question. And again, in case anybody's not sure, currently everybody is on mute. If you do want to share any observation or share a question, you will have to manually unmute yourself. Okay, so next week, same time, same place, we're going to be going over how to create healthy habits. So this is going to be kind of taking everything and putting it together. The title of that session is Spirit. And if you know somebody who missed the first two, they can still come to that one. That one is going to be applicable to anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be health and fitness. That's sort of our intention and our scope here. But developing habits could be for anything. And I look forward to seeing everybody in that one. And during the course of time, if there's any questions you have, always feel free to shoot me a message. Follow me on Moondragon Fitness on Facebook is a good way to kind of stay up to date on other things I might have going on. And like I said, I do virtual cardio Tuesdays and Saturdays at 9:30. And if you follow my Facebook page, I literally just put the Zoom link right on there. Or you could even send me a message and say, hey, can you send me the link? And then if anybody's local here in Lebanon, those classes will eventually be going to the park. All right, any final comments? I don't want to shut everybody off if anybody had any last minute questions or anything. All right, so I look forward to seeing you next week. You guys take care.
Hey,
And
thank you, Brandon.
Thank you.
That was very good.
thanks for joining.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.